Here we are on Ancestry.com, and we're looking at Henry Dean Miller's profile page, and it says facts. So I've entered in Henry's birth date as January 11th, 1892, and he was born in St. Louis, Missouri in the United States. So I say that I entered that in because today we're going to talk a little bit about the process of analysis and how, depending upon our experience in life and our experience as a researcher, we can come to different conclusions looking at the exact same documents as another genealogist. So it's really important for us to write down the results of our analysis. It can be informal and put into the notes section of a database. It can be attached on any database that you're working on, or it could be a more formal essay that you complete and keep in your files, your actual paper files. Whatever it is that, however it is you work, make sure that you write down your conclusions, because everyone's analysis has valid elements and other genealogists should all consider them. And so we help everyone out by doing this simple thing of writing down our results. But what happens if we're not so sure what analysis looks like or is like? So that's what we're considering on today's video. And again, we're looking at Henry Dean Miller. If we look on the right, his parents were Heinrich Mueller, who lived his life as Henry Miller, and Mary Ray Dean. Since we're considering his birth date, I'm going to look for records that mention his birth. We have the World War I draft registration cards, and this is for Ancestry.com. And so Henry provided his birthday as January 11th, 1892. And then when we look at the World War II draft registration cards on Ancestry.com, he did the same thing. He supplied January 11th, 1892. Both times he states he was born in St. Louis. If we jump ahead in his life and we look at Newspapers Plus, Publishers Extra, Henry Dean Miller's obituary indicates that he was 80 years old on Tuesday, March 14th, 1972. And so that would correlate with his birth being on January 11th, 1892. It certainly doesn't eliminate that as an option. So this is a record that's on Ancestry.com in the Missouri birth registers, 1847 to 1910. And you can see it's been extracted as Gary Dean Miller. This is a digital image of an original record. It's unclear whether there were ever certificates that were issued for this time period, but we know we have this index. So this is the item in question, Miller, and so this is what's been extracted as Gary Dean, and then we have the rest of the information that goes across, and we see that this is Henry, his father, and this is Mary Dean, his mother. So that's looking good. So what else can we tell about this record? Well, we can scroll up and we can see the columns on the titles of the columns for the document. And so we can see the date of birth. And we can see that this page has been titled January 1892. And so January has been abbreviated here, and then we have ditto signs underneath. And then we have what would be the days of the month that there were births in January 1892. So if we go back down to this item right here, we can see that it's very, very faint. We're still in the dittos for January. We can blow this up bigger. And so if we blow it up bigger, and we can see that the very next date is 12, and that there very faintly is a 10, and it looks like there should be a 1 in this sort of column that the numbers naturally make, and there is a faint 1. So this has been inferred to be January 11th, 1892. Now, what are we to do with the fact that this doesn't appear to say Henry? To me, it appears to say Harry more than it says Gary. So what we can do quickly is go to see if anyone else has this record. So if we hop over to familysearch.org, when we go look at the catalog for St. Louis, we can see that there aren't any vital records that match the database on Ancestry.com. But it's always good to check. I looked at this records of babies delivered between 1872 and 1901. That's a book. It's not the same record. Now, over on Ancestry, when we look at, we might want to consider then other records that might help us with this analysis. And so census records might be able to help us. And so we all sort of know, all right, we can get an estimated birth from census records. We can kind of make a window for a census record. But this is going to be a little bit different because we're going to go back to our birth record. Okay. So since we don't have an original at Family Search, and means we're going to need to take a closer record, we can only analyze what we have. And so we have this document. And if we stand back a little bit, some of the things that we'll notice are that multiple people filled out this page. The handwritings are not the same. We'll have groups of lines that are by the same hand, but for whatever reason, you'll see these heavier stroked entries here for my ancestor, here for another person. So we know it looks like someone came through and completed the record or made corrections perhaps. And you'll see, I believe that this is the same hand or possibly two different people's handwritings with the darker stroke. It could be that it's the same as some of these, but I'm not 100% on that. I don't have enough of the handwriting sample to make have an opinion on that. Now, what you can also do is you can go back and you can go forward and look at additional pages to see if you can glean any clues from the handwriting that's on those pages, the pages that are close to this page. So what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for letters that might be written in the same way. And what we're really looking for here is, do we see any G's that are written this way to substantiate the transcribed or extracted G here? And so I've looked at this document and I haven't found any other G's, capital G's, that are written this way. We even get into what looks to be another person's handwriting. And so then we have, all right, I'm not sure what name that is. Because if you go through here, this person's handwriting for Henry, the H is barely there. A matter of fact, it's very, very faded. So I've looked to see, does this look more like this person's M, capital M, and see, I'm not, and there is a G in what I think is the same handwriting. And so that's not how they wrote the capital G there, which doesn't mean that it can't happen. A lot of us have multiple ways of writing the same letter, just depending upon what came before it or what we're anticipating after it. So my theory is that this is probably a Harry. But there really is nothing, there's nothing that tells me for sure that this is the same ancestor, Harry Dean Miller. There's a growing argument. So what other information is on the page? Well, it appears we have an address, and that's where our census record comes in. So this was 1892. His father, the one that was Henrik Mueller / Henry Miller, was an older man upon getting married. He was in his early 40s. And so he lived with his parents and the family house, which was on Missouri Avenue, and the address is 1745. So if we go to the 1880 census, we can see there are a group of Millers. Okay, so where is our Miller? They're actually all in the same family. So here we have the Henry Miller, the father of Henry Dean Miller. Okay, so it says here that these people lived on Missouri Avenue. And so the address here is 1745. So that is a very good match to our birth record. And so even though the names don't match, I have decided there's enough information here to connect Henry to what I think is Harry on the birth record, that I can enter in the birth date of January 11th, 1892. Now, not everyone is going to come to the same conclusion. There may indeed be more records that become available. For whatever reason, his birth record is not showing up when I search for it on Missouri Digital Heritage. It should come up here, but when I do the search, it does not. But I will keep checking for it to come up there in case I can get a different view of the original document to see if there's anything that becomes more apparent. I will continue to look for additional records because this is where my analysis currently stands, but it doesn't have to stay this way for forever. As more documents become available, I always am open to changing or reviewing the original analysis. It's been great talking with you.